Welcome to Real Visions, the interview. I'm Pedro da Costa. I have a real treat for you guys today. With me is Frank Snowden. He's Professor Emeritus of History in the History of Medicine at Yale University. He's now in Rome, which will give us a little extra insight into maybe where we're headed with this pandemic. But he's also a student of modern Italian history, of fascism and social history, and of the history of medicine and pandemics. And he's written a fascinating book that I absolutely recommend to everybody called Epidemics and Society. And I wanted to start off by asking you about the book, Frank. What is with the timing of the book in terms of when you started working on it, when you released it, and when the pandemic actually began? Can you give me a timeline?
I can indeed. And let me thank you for your generous introduction first. And the timeline was that the book did come out in October. It's sort of interesting that in the book, I was it wasn't just me, but like many people, I did believe that we were threatened as a world society with a new pandemic, and especially a pulmonary viral pandemic. And that's not due to enormous prescience, because, in fact, virologists have been saying that since 1997. So that has been something. So our unpreparedness is particularly shocking. I mean, not only the United States, but the world as a whole, and including the United States. But in terms of the book itself, then, I finished it with this idea of the pandemic being a threat, and never thinking, though, that it would be as imminent as it was. And it began in December for the first time. And then I went in January to Rome, which soon became the epicenter of the pandemic. So I've witnessed part of that. And then just to show how dearly I love my subject, I actually caught the coronavirus myself.
Oh, my goodness. How are you doing? I had no idea.
Oh, no, I'm very lucky. I had a mild form, and I never had any of the respiratory distress that's such a terrible part of the disease. But I have been indoors for 7 weeks, and I first went out being released from quarantine just 2 days ago. So that was a great treat, just to go to the supermarket for the first time. Before that, all of the things that I needed were actually delivered by a young man in a spacesuit.
My goodness. Well, when I invited you on, I didn't know that we were going to get that real life experience on top of your historical knowledge. Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing better.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm fine now. So it's been a very interesting time, obviously.
And the book was released in October. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
That's just unbelievable. 2 months before this thing hit, you released a book called Epidemics and Society, which, to lay out for our viewers, literally goes over, as we're going to discuss, the history of plagues and just how central these kinds of how central disease is to human history, really. Can you talk about how you came to love that subject matter and why you think it's so kind of central to how we view ourselves and how we define societies?
Absolutely. There are always, I'll give two reasons, I suppose. One personal, and the other a more sort of intellectual, sustaining interest. The personal was that I was a graduate student. This shows my age in the